In this video, we're going to be looking at a team that has won one of the biggest honours in non-league football, Newport Pagnell Town FC. 2021-22 FA Vase winners and 2022-2023 FA Vase runners-up. Before we look at the last 4 seasons of the FA Vase champions, we're going to take a quick look at the backstory, and also in this video, right at the end though, got to wait for it, it's the best part. I got to speak with the manager of the men's team, the manager of the women's team, and 2 fan favourite players. One of them even played in the FA Vase win. I also got to speak to 2 academy products that have come up from the development team to the first team. But before we get on to that, I'd really appreciate if you liked and subscribed, as we're trying to hit 250 subscribers before the end of 2025. But let's take a look at the club's history before we take a look at that FA Vase win. Newport Pagnell Town, also known as Swans, were founded in 1963 after a few players met with the town clerk Frank Hall. They joined the North Buxton District League. In their first season they won Division 3 Shield, and after winning back-to-back promotions from 1965-67 they got promoted to Division 1. They qualified for promotion to the South Midland League. They finished as runner-up in 1972-73 and won promotion to the United Counties League, the same league system which they were in all the way up until 2018-19. In that time they got promoted from Division 2 to Division 1 once in 1975-76 and from Division 1 to the Premier Division 3 times in 1981-82 after winning the league title. 10 years later, 1991-92, after coming second in Division 1, and 10 years after that they won the league again, seeing a third promotion to the Premier Division in 30 years. They played their first FA Cup match in 1994-95 against Pelsall Villa at Oak Park, which saw the Swans lose 2-0. Around 9 years before that, they played their first FA Vase match for the first time. Even though these games would be rather insignificant at the time, in comparison, some games that happened 30 years later, they started life in the FA Vase, which is what Newport Pagnell kind of known for, is now the FA Vase. They started life though by beating Ely City 2-0, but after beating Milo FC 1-0 home and a 2-2 draw in the first fixture, they got drawn to Ifling Borough Diamonds at home and lost 5-0. Looking back at the leagues, in 2019-20, they ended their 36-year stay in United Counties League after they made a lateral move to the Spartan South Midland League, and after 2 abandoned seasons they transferred back to United Counties League, where they are still on now. In 2021-22, which they've moved back to United Counties League. During the late 2000s and early 2010s, the Berks and Bucks Trophy came on back-to-back, crossing into a decade. In 2021-22, they reached the final of FA Vase, beating Littlehampton 3-0. I will go more into the FA Vase wins and the runners-up later in the video. Before their appearance in the final, the first position was the quarterfinals in 2016-17, when they got knocked out 6-1 away to South Shields FC, which are, I believe, step 3 of non-league, after a 4-hour 12-minute drive to the first Cloud Arena. The year after, they reached the final again, but failed to retain it, losing 1-0 to Berkshire side Ascot FC in the second round proper, losing 2-1 home to Durham Townity, which is the furthest they've got since they're running up. Rounds. They started playing on the Berryfield Common in Newport Pagnell, and they used the Cannons Pub on Union Street as changing rooms, which is just a 12-minute walk away from the ground. They were promoted to the South Midland League in 1971 and moved to the youth club on Wolverton Road, but they stayed for just 1 season before relocating to their current ground, a 2,500 capacity with 100 cover seating and a small terrace for standing named the Steve Dart Terrace. He was a youth coach for Newport Pagnell Town youth sides. The club opened the ground in 1972 with a game against Bletchtown FC. The ground is really well known in the area, having big graffiti that says MPTFC in the club colours, like along the back wall, which face onto a main road. It's really noticeable. So if you drive past, you'll know Newport Pagnell Town. It'll plant that in your mind. But we'll start the actual core of this video in the 2021-22 season. The club's first season back in the United Counties League after their absence for just 2 years. The club finished in 5th place on 75 points from 24 wins. The biggest win was a 7-3 home thrashing of Biggleswade United with 160 people at the game. They drew 3 times all season with the highest scoring draw coming against the league champions Harborough Town, at the time, which ended 2-2 in front of a bumper crowd of 229. You'll see over the seasons that their attendances increase like quite drastically. From now, then you have the FA Vase, and then you have the running up in the FA Vase that goes even higher, and then it kind of drops a little bit, but it's been quite steady since. That game was also the final game of the season, which was a Harborough game. They failed to win 11 times all season, with the biggest loss being 8-2 loss to future FA Vase champions Ascot United. They had some pretty decent attendances, with the biggest attendance coming in the semi-final of the FA Vase at home to Hamworthy United, with 1,858 people in attendance. Now, speaking to Mike, who is the social media photo guy at Newport Pagnell, I went to go visit a training session just a few nights ago. At that game, they were having to actually turn people away. They couldn't get any more in the ground, which is absolutely remarkable. But those 1,858 people got to see the 1-1 draw and the subsequent 6-5 victory on penalties. The lowest attendance was 1,808 people less than the record. There was just 50 people who attended the 5-0 win over Shrivingham Town in the Berks and Bucks Senior Cup. Other than the FA Vase, the Swans played in 2 other cup competitions. In the Berks and Bucks Senior Cup, they got to the second round before losing 8-2 to Ascot United at Ascot Racecourse, which the ground is literally in the horse racing area. And in the FA Cup, they got to the FA Cup first round qualifying after beating Peterborough Northern Start in the extra preliminary round 4-1 at home with 171 in attendance. And in the preliminary round, they beat former National League side Histon 4-1 at home in front of 213 people. The next round they were drawn away to Worksop FC, the third oldest club in the country, and went on to lose 3-0. But for a Step 9 side, that's a very good run out in the FA Cup. Now, on to the FA Vase. In the second qualifying round, when they got drawn at home to fellow Step 9 side Harpenden Town, and with just over 140 in attendance, they beat the Harps 1-0. In the first round proper, they were drawn away to Spartan South Midlands side London Colney. With just 50 people in attendance, they beat Colney 1-0 at their place. In the second round, they were drawn against another Spartan South Midlands side in Leighton Town at home, and after a 1-1 draw with 526 people in attendance, they all saw the Swans sneak through on penalties 2-1. The third round boded well for the Swans as they were drawn to Steps 10 side Whittlesea Athletic and beat them 6-0 with a bumper crowd of 359 at Feldale Fields. The fourth round was very cut and dry, beating Fakenham Town 3-1 at Willow Road with 616 in attendance. The 1,186 people packed into Willow Road saw Newport Pagnell beat Buckland Athletic 4-3 on penalties after another 1-1 draw. Quarter-final time, the Swans were drawn away in a tough tie to Step 9 Whitchurch Alport. With a capacity crowd in attendance, the Swans snuck through, beating Alport 2-1. In the same final, they were drawn away to Hamworthy United, and with a record crowd of 1,858 in attendance, they saw the club sneak through on penalties 6-5 after another 1-1 draw. The final. Now, kick-off time was at 12:15 on the 22nd of May 2022 at Wembley Stadium. Non-league finals day. My favourite day of the league season. The referee was Samuel Barrett of West Riding FA. So he was a neutral. There wasn't any ties to Littlehampton or Newport Pagnell. The game was against Littlehampton Town, who had a very solid run in the competition, only drawing once versus Brockenhurst in the 5th round. The scoring was open just 19 minutes as number 7 Kieran Barnes hammered one home. With the Town leading 1-0 at half, current MK Irish player and Newport Pagnell hatred Ben Shepherd put an 8-minute double away between the 55th and 63rd minute to secure his man of the match status and the first FA Vase victory for Newport Pagnell Town, with 15,000 at Wembley to see the Swans cruise to victory. That is the biggest day in the club's history. Right there. 2 players, Ben Shepherd, Kieran Barnes. That is ridiculous. Now, the guy who captained that performance, I managed to get an interview with, which will be at the end of the video, so you've got to stay tuned. But he has been there for 9 years, and over 9 years, having got into Wembley twice, it's unbelievable. Newport Pagnell going into the 2022-23 season was immense, as the club were for the first time in their history defending champions of the FA Vase. And this season they yet again managed to get to the final and had the chance to be two-time champions. But we'll get through that. The Swans got a bye in the first round and all qualifying rounds, so our first journey starts in the second round as the Swans were drawn away at Hitchin Road to play Sparta Middleside Bulldog Town. It went on to be thrashed 4-1 with just 223 people at the game. The third round wasn't so simple, making a 2.5-hour trip to Plantation Road, home of Norwich United, and with a crowd just 4 more than the last, the Swans won 1-0. The fourth round was a second tie against Leighton Town at Wilham Road, and after a 1-1 draw, 1,435 for the 7-6 win on penalties. The next round saw Jersey Bulls make the 7-hour and 20-minute long car, plane and boat route to Wilham Road, only to go and lose 1-0 with a crowd of 990 at the game. I'm not sure, because I couldn't really work it out. I think sometimes they take a ferry, sometimes they take a plane, but Jersey Bulls and Guernsey. Don't quote me on that time necessarily. The next round they saw Atherstone Town take the trip to Wilham Road for a quarter-final fixture. After a 2-2 draw they won 4-3 on penalties. Another penalty. They're very good at penalties, this team. And with a bum crowd of 1,500 packed into the 2,500 capacity stadium. The semi-final was another 2-2 draw as Newport Pagnell took the trip to see Congleton Town at the Cleric Stadium and won 3-2 on penalties, with 1,436 coming to see the Swans win. The final was a disappointing day for the Swans. At 12:15 on 21st of May, Ascot United beat the Swans 1-0 with 10 minutes remaining as 22nd minute substitute Kai Waters headed home. Before that game happened, the league finished. So let's just take a look at the league. I don't really want to dwell on that too much, because it's a kind of not a dark day, but it's a sad day for the club having that opportunity to win it twice. But that's all you kind of really need to know. The club finished third, 13 points out the playoffs. They collected 70 points this season, only losing 5 times, with the biggest loss coming against Corn in the Sports Development UCL Cup in the first round, with 141 being attendance at the Farley Way Stadium. They drew 7 times all season, with the highest scoring draw being a 2-2 draw at home against Wellingborough Town, with 201 in attendance at Wilham Road. They also won 22 times all season, with the most astounding win being 8-1 home thrashing of Didcot Town in the Berks and Bucks Senior Trophy. And 80 people saw Albie Hall score 30-minute hat-tricks to secure the victory just inside half an hour. 30-minute hat-trick. That was the furthest they got in the BBSC, as in the next round they lost 4-0 to Bracknell FC with 110 in attendance. The FA Cup was also a sorry story, with the club not progressing any further than extra preliminary round, as they held Stopford to a 2-2 draw at the JCJ Stadium, and they lost 2-1 at home with a replay, with 330 at that game. This season was very successful, but not really a good season in the sense they lost a final, but it was a good season that they got to the final, good season in the league. It was a strong season still, just after the hype and living the expectation of last season in a way. This didn't really adjust, but fair play to Ascot, they were good. I've had to watch the highlights and they were a good team. But still a very strong season for any team to reach the final at Wembley. It was a big disappointment considering the success of the last 2 seasons for Newport Pagnell, as they lost in the second round proper of the FA Vase after getting a bye to Step 9 Fakenham Town away after losing 2-1 with it being level at the half. In the FA Cup they lost 2-1 to AFC Dunstable in the extra preliminary round. They also lost 3-1 at home to Milton Keynes Irish, their local and biggest rivals. There's 302 coming up for that game. I played for Irish under 16s, that's why I'm wearing this. Never mind. That was in the Berks and Bucks Senior Trophy. In the Sports Ground Development UCL Cup, they reached the second round after beating San Diego 2-1 at home in the extra preliminary round, in front of nearly 170 people. That led to them getting drawn at home to Lutterworth Town and beating them 2-0 in the first round with over 300 in attendance. But in the second round they lost away to Saffron Dynamo FC with just 16 attendance. The Swans fought back from 3-0 down to 3-3, but lost 7-6 on penalties anyway. In the league, they came 6th, 13 points outside the playoffs. They drew 5 games all season, the most goals coming in a 1-1 draw at home to Yaxley in the final home game of the season in front of 205 people. They lost 13 games last season, with the heaviest loss being a 5-1 loss at home to third place side Aylestone Park, with 250 making the trip to the game. The 20 games they won, the biggest was 6-0 away to GNG Obi Town. The lowest attendance win away last season was against Bugbrook St Michael's, when the Swans lost 1-0 to the 10th place side with just 134 in attendance. And the highest attendance was Derby Day clash against MKIH, which we know the Irish won 3-1 with a crowd of 302. This season was the team kind of returning to normality, coming back down to earth a little bit. They didn't reach the wuthering heights that they did the last 2 seasons. I would also really like to say, before we continue, I understand what, like, this shirt. I actually very much enjoy my time with Newport Pagnell. I think they're a really good club, and this is like not a great look. I think it's January 2025, and the Swans currently sit in a measly 10th place position on just 34 points. Just 4 points from the playoffs though, which is their main goal for the season, as you'll see in the interviews coming right after this. They have won 10 games, lost 11 and drawn once, with a singular draw being a 0-0 draw away at Hamilton Park, where they played Leicester Nirvana. The biggest loss of the season came against Aylestone Park, where the Swans were hit for 7, losing 7-1 in a humiliating defeat in front of 134 Aylestone fans. The biggest win by far this season was their 5-1 home win after being level at half, destroying Yaxley with 230 in attendance. In the FA Cup, they were drawn against Ilford FC at home in the extra preliminary round, before going on to draw 3-3 with 230 at Wilham Road. In the replay, they won 3-0 at Ilford's place before at the game, but I believe it was due to either an unregistered player or a player coming on that I think was dual registered, maybe. Something along that kind of line. The game was ordered to be replayed again, but they still won 2-0 at home, with another solid crowd of 130 coming out for the third tie. After all up and half, they lost 1-0 to AFC Dunstable in the next round, with 261 at that game. In the FA Vase, they were drawn against Edgware and Kingsbury in the second round qualifying, beating them 2-1 with 48 at the away fixture. 620 people made the trip to Wilham Road to see the first time proper tie versus local rivals MK Irish. It ended in a 0-0 draw, luckily, for the Swans, and they snuck through 6-5 on penalties. Side note, Ben Shepherd, who scored a double to win Newport Pagnell, the FA Vase, scored his penalty in that game and went on to shush the fans, which isn't a good look. Unfortunately, another Fairy Tale Cup run wasn't to be, as they were drawn at home to Durham Town in the second round. 360 people saw the Norfolk side beat the Buckinghamshire squad 2-1. In the preliminary round of the SGD UCL Cup, they beat fellow United County League side Gone Manchester Rovers 4-0 at Wilham Road. 224 people saw this win before proceeding to lose 2-1 at home to Belper United, and one more person came to this game, making it 225 in attendance. In the first round of the BBSC, they lost to Sparta Midland side Aylesbury Vale Dynamos 1-0 with only 134 in attendance. But so far this season, it's been pretty slow. But with new manager coming in, it's on the up. It's definitely on the up. I think playoffs is definitely on the cards from the season, and I've made a bit of an oath to myself that I will go to their home playoff tie. But as of writing at the moment, they've won 5 and 6 with the only loss coming against league leaders St Neots, so their form is there. And as you've seen in some of the training videos I've shown, they are a well-drilled side. They're quality, and they're definitely looking like they could get into playoffs and maybe even get automatics. Pagnell is really difficult, as they've tasted the biggest success in non-league, but also seen some quite low lows. It's hard to say where they'll even be in 5 years, let alone 10 or even 1 season from now. They could be anywhere. I think they will hover around the playoffs in United County's Premier South, but I hope they at least get the taste of the playoffs this season. I don't think a final is in the near future of the club, unfortunately, but you never know with non-league, but with clubs with bigger budgets and arguably bigger fan bases and just more kind of stature to throw around, it will take a lot to for Newport Pagnell to beat these sides. But speaking of fan base, it's really nice to see a non-league team constantly hitting 200 in attendance every week, if not more. It's always good to see local communities getting behind the local club, and Newport Pagnell were definitely a local team. A lot of their players are local to Newport, and it's really nice to see. But on that note, let's take a little look at their development team. For the last 2 seasons, they've played in the Spartan Midlands Division 2 after we moved from the UCL Reserve Division. We're going to look at their last 2 seasons. The dev team came 5th in the league, finishing on 58 points, winning 17, drawing 7 and losing 10. The biggest loss was a 6-0 away loss at Pitstone Pavilion as 30 people saw Pitstone Ivanhoe United thrash the development team. The biggest win was a 6-0 win against Kennington just 4 days prior at Willand Road as 47 people came out to see it. The highest scoring draw finished 1-1, but the game I want to highlight was a 1-1 draw at Kingsway Recreation Ground as at the 61 FC. We're leading at half time, which is very rare. We've covered them in a previous video. Barely win games really that often, so it's very good to see them leading full stop. In the Division 2 Cup, they lost in the second round, 3-2 away at Old Bradwell United. 90 people were hosted at Bradwell Sports and Social Club for that game. They also had a mini Milton Keynes derby, as MK Irish Reserves also play in the same league. In the first league, MK Irish Reserves held the Swans to a 1-1 draw at the Irish Centre, with 41 people making their way to the game. The next week was the second leg, which Newport Pagnell comfortably won, beating the Resies 4-2, a massive Division 2 crowd of 102 people. This wasn't the biggest tennis season. The biggest was when Stonystrath Town came to Willand Road on the second game of the season and were held to a 1-1 draw, with 143 coming to that game. The lowest was against Berkhamsted Raiders, who were beaten 3-0 with only 47 at that game. Swans currently sit 7th on 26 points, losing 7, drawing 5 and winning 7. The highest scoring draw was a 2-2 draw away against Collicott with 33 at that game. The biggest loss was a 6-1 loss away to Bovingdon FC, with 100 people coming to Green Lane to see the thrashing. The biggest win was a 6-1 away win just 2 weeks later at Sports Centre MK, facing off against MK College FC. With just 25 at the Astro pitch, the dev team ran rampant, scoring 6 goals. They also play in the County Cup this season, beating Winslow United Development 4-2 on penalties after 1-1 draw, before losing 5-4 on penalties away at Maidenhead Town. In Division 2 Cup, they got handed the victory after Huntingdon under-23s withdrew from the league. I believe it was only 9 games into the season. They're yet to play a quarter-final fixture against Sarat FC, but I look forward to seeing how that one goes. And if you want to have updates on Newport Pagnell Town FC, make sure to follow their Twitter and my Twitter. At the end of the season, I'll be posting my update. The highest attendance was 122 when Old Bradwell came to Willand Road Sports Ground and came back from 2-0 down to draw 2-2. And the lowest attendance was a 1-1 draw at home to Aston Clinton. They always seem to come up in the lowest attendances, as 40 people came to see the draw. They did the double in the mini MK derby, beating them 3-2 at Willand Road Sports Ground with just 61 people at the game. And I managed to actually go to the instalment of the mini MK derby at the Irish Centre on the 18th of January to see MK Irish Reserves, who actually played relatively well, but Newport Pagnell Development were an unreal sight to watch. And they went on to win 1-0 to a very well taken goal, with a bumper crowd of 67. Watching the development play was genuinely like watching Newport Pagnell play. They were fast paced, they were quick with the ball at their feet, they took the chance they got. Their shooting wasn't all there, but even the goalkeeping was just superb. Definitely recommending you go see them. But it's very good to see a reserve side getting as much attendance numbers, and honestly this reserve team is one of the best I've ever seen. They could get a promotion, maybe not this season, New Brother St Peter's seemingly running away with it, but maybe next season they look more than capable of getting into Division 1. They're a remarkable team, to be honest with you. And the first team could definitely use some of the players that are in this team, as they're very capable and very solid Division 2 side. Some of them are easily Premier Division. Like, I'll say that quietly, because obviously it's against weak opposition, so you never really know. But some of these players could easily fit into a Division 1 side, no doubt. But yeah, before we end off this video, I got the opportunity to go and watch a Newport Pagnell training session at the newly built Leo William 3G AstroTurf in Newport Pagnell, which was only open in August 2024. And throughout this video you've seen some training clips, but I have one more thing to show you. Here are the interviews. So what kind of brings you down to manage Newport Pagnell?
So for me, I came down originally 18 months ago to sort of come on board as a coach, and then due to a managerial change, got offered the position, and haven't looked back since. Absolutely adore it.
What was the squad like when you first came in?
Good, competitive, and I think we slowly just evolved from where we were to where we are now. And we've improved sort of with the players that we've got. I think that's probably been the biggest improvement in terms of the ones that we've got have carried on, and then in the summer brought in 5 or 6 that have complemented the group. And now, yeah, we're sure this has been for a long time. What
is your transfer policy of bringing players into the club? And
so for me, it's not even, to some extent, on ability, but our values, in terms of we've got a really good culture. I want people that are going to buy into that. And now that we've got a good level, I think it's really important that we only bring players in that improve that. I don't want to mess people around. I don't want to just have numbers sake for the sake of numbers. But most importantly, I want them to be good people.
So, Mike was saying you had quite a good run in the FA Cup last year. How'd that kind of feel for the club?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, and to be fair, got to the first round proper for the first time. And yeah, did really well. Ended up coming unstuck against Royston, but on the process beat some teams in the league above, and we've just done some analysis tonight and showed where we've beaten 2 teams this season that are first and second in the league above, which probably shows where we can be.
Yeah. So what are your kind of aims for this season?
So for now, we're going back to taking it a game at a time. I know that's the cliche and everything else, but absolutely, you're always going to aim for the top. I'm not going to hide from that. I think you get there by just taking it a game at a time. We had a disappointment the other week in a game that we drew. It's probably just to kind of put us back down to earth, if you want to say that. There's lots of football to be played, and for me, it's we have a big game this weekend against Frapston. We then go into 2 cup games, and we just focus on one game at a time.
So Newport Pagnell being like, in my eyes, one of the bigger proprietors of Milton Keynes of women's football. What do you think their role is in it?
So for me, in terms of the club and what we've done, I think that James Badham, our head of football, is incredible at it. It's one of the reasons why I'm really proud to be the first team manager here. I think there's an incredible foundation with the pathway. We are, I've said this before, is that we are built upon a youth setup that is getting stronger and stronger all the way through, from under 8s all the way up to 15s. And it's just continuing to get stronger and stronger. And that for me means that some teams you see at our level, whereby if a manager leaves, they take their team and it can crumble. Whereas I think for us is, not that I've got any intention of leaving, but if I was to walk away, the club would still be completely fine because there's an incredible setup and good people around it.
Also, you have a development team as well attached to the side. How often do you bring players up or put players down?
So there's been some restrictions around that. Once they play 2 games, they become a first teamer, and you can only have a certain number of first teamers in the development squad. So we've tried to manage that. We've had 2 or 3 that have trained religiously. We've got a 16-year-old over there at the moment, and then a Rolf who's been incredible, along with Isabel and Jasmine that have really complemented. And again, where they've just started there finding their feet as well, so I didn't want to be too disruptive, but there's something we'll look at more for next season as well and try and step that up another level, absolutely.
So going into this season, what were your kind of hopes and aspirations going, like starting off?
Again, finish as high as we can. For me, we set some goals more around how we wanted to play. So it was about what we wanted to look like in possession, what we wanted to look at out of possession. I'm a firm believer you can get really caught up on results, winning the league, winning games of football, but actually you miss the process. So for me is, how can we play the best possible football to win games? The training we do is phenomenal, led by Lee, Brad and then Colin. We do an hour's worth of analysis before every training from the VIA, where we go into detail upon what we're going to work on. So we're not just watching the game back, there'll be a specific topic of the session, but we'll highlight where we've done that in games so that we can then go and coach it.
So Mike told me as a full international plays with you.
We do, so Fran, on the futsal side of it, Fran and Ada, 2 twins that have represented England at under 19, whose father is just over there at the moment. brilliant. We've got an incredible young group, and they're an epitome of that. And yeah, we've got a number of players that play futsal on a Saturday. Bedford Futsal will have to take credit for that. We're on the football side of it, but yeah, incredible honour for them to represent their country.
During the season with the club a bit further down the table than maybe expected, how do you kind of pick the lads up from that?
A difficult one, definitely. I think we come in with the right game. It was a local derby in the FA Vase, and it's a game the club cherish. And obviously coming out on top on penalties, winning that was definitely a boost. I think all the fundamentals are there. We've taken over a really, real good squad. We've just tweaked a couple of bits, just kind of tried giving them a little bit more life and belief, and just to re-energise them. Like myself and Aaron have been chuffed to bits with how they've been since we've come in.
So you moved up from the development team up to the first team. What's the kind of mentality shift like coming in from the dev team to the men's?
Yeah, so in terms of managerial mentality, obviously for 90 minutes with the devs we want to win games of football. However, we didn't mind losing if we were playing well, because obviously we're trying to develop players, we're trying to obviously teach them that competitive edge, but again, we were just trying to make sure they're enjoying the right amount of football, everyone getting some minutes and just getting that exposure. In terms of the first thing, obviously we step in, we want to win every game because that's part and parcel of it. But in terms of the player mindset, again, a lot of these players have been at a real high level, so we're also learning off them, which is really, really good, and we've got some real good young lads around who are keen to develop and push on, and we've got a real good unity between the experienced lads and the young lads trying to push through.
What kind of brought you to manage the dev team to begin with, and now first, what kind of brought you to Newport Pagnell?
So I've actually played for Newport since the age of 6, played all through the youth teams, made my first team debut at 16 and a couple of games years and years ago, so I'm a Newport lad, and it's the same with Aaron. He's quite local, not as local as me, but he brought his team over to here and he just loves the club. He sees it as his local club and just wants the club to progress, and we got the opportunity to go into the then reserves when the manager left. We just pushed our under-18s through, and just we like to try and change the mentality of it, going from older lads to near enough being all under-18, under-19 team. What's
kind of your transfer policy? Do you bring a lot of people up from dev team into first team, or is it a lot of picking them from other clubs?
So again, it's a mixture. So we do put in 7 days for players, and they have come over, which is really, really good. But there is definitely a little bit of player policy that we want to go for. We want to go for players that are hungry to want to win, want to play football week in, week out, but also want to be making sure these players are progressing. We've called up a number of lads from the devs for our fixtures, which is really, really good. And Aaron will always say, he's much better at it than me, but he always says that you've got to be good enough to be able to be at that level. And he does drill that in when we're talking about players as well. So yeah, we definitely have different policies in the sense of when we recruit for the devs into the first team, but yeah, we've recruited really, really well so far since coming in.
Going into this current season, what was your expectations of the team? Did you want playoffs or promotion, or just a good finish?
Well, obviously when we took over, the club were in a bit of a relegation battle. People say, I don't think it was ever on the cards. I think the squad was always going to get out of the little bit of turmoil that they were in. Basically, our own plans and expectations are we want playoffs. They are definitely a possibility. We've got a tough run in, but so have the others. We've got a lot of games against those teams around us, so it'll be really, really exciting to see. But yeah, we wanted the playoffs. That'll be our aim, and we won't stop aiming for that until it's mathematically impossible.
What's your, obviously the club gets a lot of fans through the door. What's your kind of vibe around the club at the moment?
Yeah, it's a real good community club. I think since we've taken over, the attendances have stabilised a little bit, which is good. Again, we're not getting those days of the Vase games where you're getting 400 or 500 purely because of the attraction of it, but the fans are excellent. Even in the bar afterwards, they're wanting to interact with players, interact with us as management. So yeah, it's really, really good. It's a real good community club. You'll see all the youth players down here watching, or even being mascots. So yeah, it's a real good vibe around the club.
Obviously you've been at Newport for a season or two now. How have you kind of felt about this season so far?
We started off pretty difficult in terms of the league campaign. We picked up form coming towards Christmas, so hoping to keep that track. that good track going towards the end of the season. So,
What brought you to play for Newport Pagnell?
So to be honest, in terms of football clubs, I've played quite far, and I'm pretty local. I'm about 10 minutes away from the ground, and I just felt like, you know what, I had to play my football local. I knew a few of the lads who were here beforehand, and Newport's a pretty big club around the local area, so I was like, you know what, I think I'll bring my football a bit more local this year and see what we can do. So yeah.
How does Newport compare to the other clubs you've played for in the past few years?
I think everyone's together here. Everyone's together. It's a really good community, tight-knit community, and in terms of like the positive environment, atmosphere around coming towards not just the first team but the women's teams and the reserves as well is really good. So that's probably how I'd say it differentiates from other clubs I've been at.
With Cam coming, you didn't know him before the game. How does that kind of affect that? How did it affect you going into the game, not seeing the manager before then playing?
Sorry, say that again.
Sorry. So obviously when Cam came in, you didn't know him before the game.
Yeah.
How did then that affect your game, not knowing your manager and his style?
It wasn't as difficult as I first thought it would be. Credit to them in terms of the way they came in. It was very easy to sort of settle towards their expectations. They didn't really change it up dramatically in terms of what they expected in the first game. So in terms of the transition, it was pretty easy for jumping in with Cam and Aaron. Yeah.
What's your kind of aspirations going on for the second half of the season?
The team's aspirations?
Yeah.
Playoffs. We made it difficult for ourselves at the start of the season, but we're not far off it. I think the aim is playoffs, get us close to the pack as we possibly can, but take it game by game and see where we land.
You've been at Newport Pagnell for quite a while. What kind of makes you want to stay at Newport?
To be honest with you, mate, I just love the club. Ever since I've been here, people have just been so friendly, so welcoming, the fans. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and a lot of those people are still here now from when I joined. We've had good managers and everyone that comes in, and then obviously just the teammates. I've gone through probably about 2, 3, 4 different teams now, and it's always a good culture, it's always a good club culture, and I just love it, mate. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
You had also a difficult start to this season, especially. How did that kind of affect the group of lads and affect yourself?
It was hard, it was really hard. It's probably the worst start to the season we've had since I've been here. And it was hard on everyone. Obviously the manager then left during the course of that. It was a little bit unfair, things didn't go our way. We had a lot of injuries, we had signings that were going to come, and then when start of the season, maybe the pre-season team we had didn't end up being the team that was going to start. But we've shown a lot of character, mate. We bounced back, we're working our way back up from the league so now. And you wouldn't have thought it at the start, but now we're not far off the playoffs. So it was hard to do. It was hard to turn around, but I feel like we're on the right track.
So you won the FA Vase, well, you're part of that winning team, and the loss the next season, unfortunately. How did that kind of up high then low kind of affect the group of lads?
I mean, the 2 seasons for me was just a pure high. Like going through that experience, the penalty wins, the last minute wins. When it happened once, you just thought that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And it's happened again the very next year, which is unbelievable. The low obviously was losing the final, that was hard. But I put up on social media afterwards, the low when you lose, but then you realise that what you accomplished to get there sometimes can be worth a little bit more. Obviously for the lads who didn't win it the year before, I'm sure they'll be even more gutted obviously. But just the experience of what you share, you'll have that for the rest of your life. So you can kind of deal with it.
So obviously you won the final. What was the kind of vibe around the club going into the next season? How was the club thinking too ambitious, or was it?
Well, it was exciting. It was really exciting. Everyone was ambitious because of what we'd achieved. Obviously, what comes with that is the fact that everyone wants to be here. I mean, the first league game of the season, the dream game, now, all that sort of stuff. So it adds to that. But look, we managed to maintain a fairly similar group, and they were it was the best group of lads. It didn't go to anyone's head. We knew we'd have another challenge on ourselves in the season. We wanted to get promoted. We didn't achieve it. Wembley's a good softener. So we didn't get what we wanted out of the season, but I think anyone would have taken it.
So you spoke about promotion. How attainable do you think promotion is for the second half of the season?
It's doable. Look, I think at the moment, looking at the table, we're about 5 points off the playoff places, and we've got a couple of games in hand on that as well. Don't get me wrong, there's teams in between at the same level. This league this season is crazy. I think the minimum achievement cost already is about 4 or 5. Normally teams are winning the league 2 or 3. So not that we're going to finish obviously there. To get out of the playoffs have only been there the last few years. So it's a viable option, mate. It's something, it gives us something to aim for, it gives us something to work towards. It's what we're focused on, and I think everyone in here will be disappointed if we don't get into those spots.
Brilliant. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Moving from the development team up to the first team, what's been the transition for you guys?
With Cam coming from the development team up to the first team, he's brought some of the players up with him as well. So it's been easy to go up with him, and Aaron as well with him.
I'd say definitely the physicality and the pace of the game, but you've got stronger players around you to encourage you and motivate you to take it to that next level.
What's your mentality kind of been like since you come up?
Kind of just not scared of anybody, just you got to smash it to somebody, you got to do it for the team.
Yeah, the competition's harder at this level. It's a lot more fast, a lot more physical. So that's helping us to develop as well.
How do you think the season's gone for the first team so far?
I think we've definitely had an upbeat since getting Cam and Aaron in. Team morale has definitely gone up, and I think we're going to keep getting results. So as long as we stay together and just keep fighting and don't lose hope in games.
Yeah, the squad's together and everyone's happy. So
What are you kind of looking forward to for the rest of the season coming through?
getting chances to play, pushing to get as high as we can up the league as well.
Yeah, obviously we want playoffs, so tougher teams we play, we want to get 3 points against them and just not lose any points, to be honest.
On that note, thank you for Alfie for all the photos and videos used in this video. An even bigger thank you to Mike, who helped me out massively, organising my trip to a training session and giving me so much useful insight into the club and helping me get the attention of managers and some players, and yeah, getting the interviews for me as well, which is really appreciated. And both of their Twitters will be linked in the description below. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, you'll also enjoy about their local rivals, MK Irish, which will be linked below and on the end card of this video. Also, at the end, in the description of the video, there'll be another video linked, which will be about the 61 FC, which I really appreciate viewers go and watch that one too. But on a side note, Newport's merch store, that is also linked in the description. Go and check their merch store out. They've got some very high quality gear on sale. But yeah, on that note, thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.